Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2N Online Paddle School. We're back here on YouTube, and this week we're taking some time breaking down how to seat your OC6 for different situations. At my last clinic in Milford, Connecticut, I was asked multiple times how I personally seat my canoes for practices and for races, and some of the thought process that goes into that decision making was new information for the participants of the clinic. So with this video, we're going to try and share a lot of those thought processes and what goes into that decision making. Keep in mind, this is my personal preference, but using my personal preference, we will be able to define what some of these aspects mean, and the more that you can understand it, the more you can now seat your canoe to fit what you're planning to do. Situations are going to change for practice in flat water or in the ocean versus racing in the flat water or in the ocean. And then if you're in a spec canoe or an unlimited canoe, there are a lot of variables that go into this, not accounting for your crew's skill level. So let's get right to it. Seating the canoe weight distribution wise, front to back. My personal preference is to have the nose slightly heavier than the tail. I'm a pretty small paddler weight-wise, so it's easy for me to put one larger paddler in seat 1 and achieve this effect. But I also typically add another light paddler into seat 5 to take more weight off the tail, especially when I'm in an unlimited. The reason I like the tail lighter is it puts me in more control of managing the tail. The tail being lighter means that it takes less force to control. I am looking to paddle 80, 90, or 100% strokes with my team. And there are situations where a heavier tail, if you let it go off course for a split second, you are forced to poke in order to get back on track. The amount of weight and energy it would take to trying to draw an angled stroke is almost impossible to try and correct with. But with a tail that is lighter, it gives you a little bit more wiggle room. If the tail slightly goes off course, you can take a couple of draw strokes and correct the canoe versus being forced into a poke. And for the way that I paddle and the way that I strategize and get rhythm with my movements and corrections, I would rather have the opportunity to have a few easy draw strokes to compensate for the canoe's correction rather than dragging my blade in the water and slowing down my team. The heavier the tail, the more the boat will track in a straight line. But as it goes off course, that energy that was keeping it straight is now energy that's taking it off course. If the tail is light, sure, it moves quickly and easily off course. Now this opens up more variables for you to control the tail forward, angled, and draw stroke instead of having to poke. This is especially true with unlimited canoes. They have a very long, pointy tail, which further tracks in a straight line, but it also is harder to correct as it starts to go off course. A spec canoe will have a very rounded surf-style tail, which is incredibly maneuverable. So in a racing unlimited, I want the tail light, so I am in control to help my crew as much as I can. If we are in the ocean with a spec canoe, having a heavier tail to help track on a wave face, these are ideas that you can start to play with and elaborate on. The next weight distribution that I typically like is that seat 2 and 4 are a similar weight range to seats 1, 3, and 5. The reason for this is so when 3 paddlers are paddling on the right side, they are counteracted by those 2 paddlers, and they don't need my help as a steersman to force me onto the left side. 1, 3, and 5 are my largest paddlers, and 2 and 4 are my smallest paddlers. Every time my larger paddlers switch to the right side, I am now unable to paddle on the right side safely. If I hit a hard poke while they're in the middle of that switch, we can flip the canoe instantly. So having that weight distribution left to right more even is something that I'm looking for. So my larger paddlers in 2 and 4 will counter smaller paddlers 1, 3, and 5. So looking at the front to back balance, having a large paddler in 2, having 2 light paddlers in 5 and 6, right? This will start to get the nose slightly heavier, so you get both effects that you're looking for. With power, in the same scenario, hopefully seats 2 and 4, if they're your larger paddlers, are also your stronger paddlers. Their ability to match the skill level of 1, 3, and 5 definitely helps keep the boat tracking straight. Again, if you have your stronger, larger paddlers 3 side versus 2 smaller, lighter paddlers, every time that they switch, the canoe is going to be influenced by their paddle strokes in the steering process. And this isn't the end of the world, but the more of a disparity that you have, the more that you will feel this as a steersman. So balancing that energy left to right the best you can keeps the canoe tracking relatively straight, and then it's up to you as the steersman to add in other inputs to help further balance and steer the canoe from there. Looking at power distribution. So when we are at club practices with a practice crew, you typically have the front end of the boat being your higher skill level paddlers. They can keep a stroke rate, they can keep synchronization, and they can switch well. And so in that scenario, you put your better paddlers up in the front and your new paddlers are in the back so they can watch, follow along, and if they mess up, the force of the energy coming from the front of the canoe is going to keep you going. In a racing scenario, it is almost the opposite effect. As the canoe glides through the water at seat 1 is more still than the water at seat 5 and 6. As the canoe rushes forward, everybody in seats 4, 5, and 6 are grabbing water that has been pushed for 20, 30, or 40 feet, right? It is being displaced, and it's like paddling in a flume or a current. There is a lot of movement there. It makes it harder to make a connection with the water. In seats 1, 2, and 3, the water is not moving as much, especially your seat 1. They're grabbing still, calm water at the front that has not been pushed through. Because they're grabbing water that is not moving, it is easier for the front of the canoe to find more pressure than the people in the back of the canoe. So what makes this the opposite of club practice is you want your strongest and most skilled paddlers further in the back of the boat. Their ability to grab water that is moving at a high speed takes more of a skill level than a paddler that can find pressure moving water that is not moving. This is where the OC1 is nice. If a paddler can move a vessel at 6, 7, 8 miles an hour, they are able to grab rushing water at a higher skill level than somebody that is moving the canoe at 4 or 5 miles per hour. They do it constantly. They're able to do it by themselves. When you insert them into a boat, their ability to do this is still applicable. The paddlers that struggle with canoe speed and moving a vessel and making that connection with their paddle, if you place them in seat 1, 2, and 3, they will find this pressure easier. Paddlers in 4, 5, and 6, the pressure is not there for them to find. They have to make that connection. So the higher the skill level of your paddlers are there, they can continue to make that connection and the canoe will glide much better. So at club practices, when we put our brand new people in seat 5 or 6, they take a stroke, they have no way of really making a good connection, and the water just rushes off of the blade and it feels like their paddle is going to rip out of their hands. So a lot of those paddlers are stuck going through the motion where they can't really feel the connection with the water because the connection is already being felt by everybody else. If you were to put a first timer in seat 1, every time they put the blade in the water, it's going to feel like concrete, and their ability to feel this connection is much more inherent. If they lack the skills of stroke rate, synchronization, and clean switches, this now messes up everybody else in the canoe. So in a club setting, you have to placate to those ideas. But in a racing scenario, the implication is everybody is at a relatively high skill level, but you have paddlers that are faster than others. Place the faster ones further back, they can continue to grab that water. And keep in mind, when you put somebody in seat 1, they are getting beat up comparatively to the back of the boat. Every time they take a stroke, they are grabbing still water that feels very heavy. People in the back, not every stroke is inherently going to feel this difficult. So understanding that everybody in the back, the more you can help, the more pressure you take off the front of your canoe, and the more consistent you can be. If the back of the boat is just lollygagging, seats 1, 2, and 3 are going to get fried very quickly. In a previous video, we talked about the roles of each seat, and this video is more about the overall viewpoint of weighting seat and power with those specific roles of each seat. So watching both of those together will give you a larger viewpoint of how to maximize your race teams to get the most that you can, or how to strategize placing people into your canoe for club practices to keep everybody safe. Thank you all so much for checking out the video. Big shout out to all of our YouTube members right here. If you need any other help with OC6 steering, OC6 strategy, racing strategy, check out the K2NOnlinePaddleSchool.com today. We have over 300 videos that go over forward paddle strokes, how to steer your canoe, exercises off the water, different race tactics, everything that you can think of is on the website. There are more series that we are planning to add on, as well as OC6 coaching, dragon boat coaching, race regatta terms. There are so many things that we can continue to talk about, and you can find them on K2NOnlinePaddleSchool.com. Thank you all so much for the ongoing support. If you would like me to come to your area and host a clinic, this year so far, I have almost completed the paradigm. Dragon boat paddling, OC6 paddling, OC6 steering, surf ski paddling, OC1 paddling, OC2 paddling. The only thing that would complete the paradigm would be a SUP clinic and a dragon boat steering clinic. If you want me to come to your area, if you can organize the group, I will book the plane ticket and I will be in your area teaching you this summer. If you'd like to plan and book something into 2026, I continue to do this for a long time, so feel free to reach out anytime. My email is in the description. If you're watching this video and you also want to come to Hernando and work one-on-one with me or bring some friends and do a small group, I have all the vessels, I have all the paddles that you can need. Just show up and we'll paddle as much as you'd like. Thank you all so much for the ongoing support, and we'll see you all next week for the next paddle tip video.